Sir Keir Starmer says he will seek a closer trading relationship with the EU if Labour wins the next election. He's revealed a Labour government would try to get a new Brexit deal. Sir Keir claimed that almost everyone recognises the current deal is not a good one. OK, but what would this really mean for people, OK? Could we expect then years more, dither, delay, debate, not a lot happening? Would it reopen the calls for us to rejoin the European Union? Actually, have we made it quite easy for someone like Keir Starmer to come in and do something like this because we haven't actually deviated massively from the European Union to begin with? But now it's time to speak to former Labour MP Stephen Pound. Stephen, thank you very much. Why is Keir Starmer talking about Brexit? It's suicide.
He's doing the sensible thing. It's exactly the same thing as every Prime Minister in waiting actually does. But look, when nobody's talking about rejoining the EU, that ship has sailed.
Has it?
No, it has indeed. Look, do you remember the idea after we lost the first one in 2016, or I lost, I don't know about you, but I lost it. They then said, let's have a second one, let's have best out of three. We're going to end up with a never-endum. That ain't going to happen. But look, the responsible thing to do is to recognise that there are certain issues, particularly immigration, and a whole range of other things like science, various other education.
Well, I mean, we left the European Union to be able to control our own borders. I mean, surely we can't be beyond the wit of man to do that ourselves. Why do we now have to go back?
Well, that went well, didn't it?
Well, yeah, but why would we now have to go back to the European Union and say, sorry, you're the only people who can control our borders at all?
No, we're not saying that. We're saying it hasn't worked. In all honesty, our policy of controlling our borders has been an absolute flipping disaster. We have not controlled our borders. We have people in this country who are murderers, who are rapists, who are thieves, who should never, ever be here. Now, why can't we actually cooperate and collaborate with the rest of Europe to make sure that this simply doesn't happen?
Is the problem not politicians, not the public?
Well,
I mean, the politicians made an absolute mess of Brexit. Dithered and delayed on it non-stop, tried to overturn it in many quarters as well, then couldn't come up with a workable solution and have made an absolute horlicks of it since. I mean, is it not fair to say your average common man and woman on the street might look at politicians and think you're rubbish?
Well, I'd find it very hard to argue against that, to be perfectly fair, having been a politician for the best part of 40 years. But the reality is, the person in the street, the man and the woman on the Clapham omnibus can say, let's stop them, let's turn back the boats, let's build. These are simplistic solutions that simply do not work in reality, in practicality. The reality is that people would come here, the Royal Navy cannot turn boats back. They cannot take a rigid inflatable boat and tow it back into Dieppe. They can't do that. The law of the sea stops that. It's nothing to do with the EU. It's actually the law of the sea. So what do? We've got a problem in this country. We've got to resolve it. And as far as I'm concerned, it makes best jaw is better than war, as Churchill said.
Yeah, I know, that's fair enough. But I am looking at this now and I'm starting to realise, I think, why Keir Starmer has kept quiet for so long. It's because what he actually believes in is stuff that's quite unpopular, like talk of some kind of asylum quota, which he's now poo-pooed with the European Union, talk of some new closer Brexit deal with the European Union, talk of votes for 16-year-olds, for goodness sake, all of this stuff. It's actually not popular, and that is what he thinks, isn't it?
Well, I think you're putting together different things there, Patrick. Look, votes for 16...
Well, that thing would be called a manifesto, eventually.
Is that what we... look, votes at 16 is ludicrous. You've got votes at 16, why not 14, why not 12, why not 11, why not 6 months?
Well, give it to the fetus,
precisely. Precisely, that's just bonkers. I think we see what happens.
But he wants that, doesn't he?
Well, no, OK. I mean, I've been Labour since I was born, practically, but I don't have to agree with everything they say. The question, the premise of what you're asking is the point that you're making, and you make it powerfully and well, as you always do, is the fact is we've lost the referendum on Europe. Are we trying to actually gain it by the back door?
Yeah.
Now, I would say no. I would say there's certainly things like, animal rights standards, and the programme where we actually, share scientific knowledge. These make sense to work together. Look, I'm a Remainer, but I'm a Democrat. My lot lost the argument. We're not going to have a reach. We're not going to, at the end of the game, when Fulham have lost, we're not going to ask for a replay.
No, well, you'd hope not, no. Look, when it comes to the Red Wall now, people that are there that lent the Tories the vote at the last election, that are probably now, I would imagine, massively disillusioned with the way the Conservatives have gone about things, will be considering seriously who they vote for at the next election. And they hear the Labour leader just even giving them that whiff of a closer relationship with Brussels. Do you think that makes them want to go out and vote?
Patrick, look, do you remember, back in the Clinton election campaign, do you remember, it's the economy, stupid. It's the pound in your pocket. It's what really matters to me. People can talk about the beauty and the joy of having a blue passport as instead of a red passport, but ultimately, if you can't export to the biggest market in the world, the European Economic Union, if you cannot actually have your kids go on holiday over there without going through customs control, that's when it hurts people.
All right.
Look, we've got independence. We are an independent nation. To be honest, we always were an independent nation. We are now. But on the other hand, let's actually work with our next-door neighbours.
But I mean, we are. The thing is that we are working. It's not. It's the framing of that. I mean, they stuck two fingers up to us. We voted to leave. The public voted to leave the European Union. Then they proceeded to make it as difficult as possible.
I'm sorry, did they? I mean, I think to a certain extent, that's kind of been sent out there as a straw man. I'm not entirely sure they did make it. There's a lot of people in Europe who look, let's be honest, Europe in its present form isn't going to last. You've got the situation in Hungary with Viktor Orban.
Yeah.
You've got the situation in Poland, where Poland could actually be thrown out of the European Union. There's a possibility of a new European Union should be. The last thing the European Union, the last thing Brussels and Strasbourg want is for people to leave the European Union, because it sets a precedent. And if Britain leaves, if the United Kingdom leaves...
So what things specifically, just Keir Starmer, when he goes, I'm going to go and renegotiate a better Brexit deal, what bits does he need to... What bits do we need to do?
Trade. First of all, why on earth can't we trade? Why have we got this ridiculous 302-mile border in Ireland, which is actually we can't transport goods from one side to the other? Why can't we trade with our next door neighbours?
Well, it's because the European Union's rules, isn't it?
Well, those are the rules that existed before June 2016.
So the European Union would need to change its rules with a third country.
Or we would have to actually agree...
Which presumably we've asked them to do. This is the thing. I mean, how does he think he's going to be able to go and get a better deal by asking them, just because he's a Remainer who, loves Ursula von der Leyen and all of that stuff, that he's just going to go and go on, just give me a better deal, go on.
Well, no, that ain't going to happen. I mean, I was at the London School of Economics with Ursula von der Leyen, and she was a right little raver back in those days, believe you me.
OK, hang on a minute, we're definitely talking about this now. So, go on, what happened with Ursula von der Leyen back at uni?
No, she was a punk, and she used to spend... She was! She had most of her time up at Camden Market.
Ursula von der Leyen?
Yeah, yes. In fact, she's now got 6 kids, and she's, a highly respectable person. But she was also, quite an interesting character in those days.
All right. Well, there we go. Sometimes I'm very pleased for a conversation to be derailed. But thank you very much, Stephen. Always a pleasure. Take care. Stephen Pound there, former Labour MP. Look, what do you hear when you actually do hear about Keir Starmer looking to get a better relationship with the European Union? Do you think we need one? Do you look at what's happened now and you think, look, we gave it a go, it was a disaster, we just need something better, I want a bit more money in my pocket if that's what it would give me? Or do you fear the fact that it would drag us back kicking and screaming into Europe against our will?